I don't know you, and you don't know me. Yet. But one thing you and I both know. Somehow you found this page because you want out. Out of your current financial situation. Out of living paycheck to paycheck. Out of struggling to pay the bills. Out of the 9 to 5 grind. Out of long rush hour traffic. Out of your job. Out of whatever is holding you back from making more money in a month than over 99.99% of the rest of the world makes in a year. You're in luck if any of the above is you, because somehow you just landed on the one single page that has the answers to all of those problems. I would know, because I created the only software that actually forces you to profit in a world that doesn't involve gaming Google with auto bloggers or spinning endless articles into a massive web of worthless content that nobody cares about. This software taps into a little known but astronomical source of traffic that only the most elite super affiliates know about, and literally creates money. How much money? 100 a day? 300 a day? 500 a day? 1,000 a day? More. It just depends on how much you want to use the software. The beauty is the software works for you. You're not glued to your computer 24/7, manning the ship to be in the money. Once you install it and turn it on, it does all the work for you. So you're free to go out and eat or shop, free to be a lazy couch potato, free to get addicted to video games, free to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And this will never fade. It will never burn out. It cannot get overrun by too many people. In fact, it's only going to get bigger and bigger. And it's definitely not like anything you have ever seen before. It's not AdWords or media buys or Yahoo Answers. It's not Bing or JVing, article writing or blogging, auto blogging, RSS garbage. It's not social media or SEO slaving. It's not anything that requires a lot of effort or time. Honestly, if you like spending a lot of time and money just to make no money, then this isn't up your alley. This is really for someone who is serious about making a lot of money and having the time to enjoy it. I'm about to piss off a lot of people, and there's a good chance I'll become public enemy number one. You see, I used to work for the leading online payment processor in the world, or you might know them as PayPal. To many in this industry, they're a necessary evil because they make accepting online payments fast and easy. But they've also been known to make life really hard for a lot of marketers. Yeah, I started working at PayPal when they were just a fledgling little startup in Palo Alto, California. Back then, there were only a handful of us, and I was one of the very first software engineers. And my job, well, this is where the hate for me will probably boil up inside for so many of you. My job was to create the software that froze PayPal accounts. Ever logged into your own PayPal account and seen this? Yeah, I was the guy that built and implemented the software they used to limit, freeze, and close accounts. And I can understand if you're one of those people this has happened to, how you might want to stab me in the eyeballs. Honestly, I hated what I did too, so I can't blame you. I mean, my job was to build the software that took people's money away from them. Sometimes it just felt dirty. And most days, I could barely force myself out of bed to commute into the office. I was constantly staring at millions of dollars in cash. Doing what I did at PayPal, I heard all the gossip and all the dirt in the office. And one of those constant topics of that gossip was the big money players that had high six figures, even seven figures sitting in their PayPal accounts. That's right, huge amounts of cash just sitting in their accounts, waiting for them to spend it on God knows what. And yet, here I was, an office drone, a slave to the 9 to 5 and a brutal commute. Not flat-ass broke, but with a new kid and a wife at home, definitely paycheck to paycheck just to make ends meet. And man, sometimes we were stretched thin. That's not a problem anymore though, because my software has catapulted me out of the paycheck to paycheck and into high six figures a year, with months like this every single month. If you're stretched thin right now, if you're beyond thin and into the red ink, even if you're doing okay but just want to get free, free from your job, free from your boss, free to live life on your terms, because after all, you, your family, you deserve that, don't you? Imagine your bank account always flush with cold hard cash. All your bills are paid on time, and the fat chunk of money in your bank account is yours to do whatever you please. Imagine rolling up to the ATM at your bank, and after all your bills are paid up, you got an extra chunk sitting there for whatever your heart desires. You're getting 4- and 5-figure deposits weekly, not from checks that take forever to clear, not from PayPal payments that could be frozen at any time, assuming they're even sent to you at all, but wired straight into your bank account. In spendable money you have instant access to. And what if you didn't have to work for any of those 4- and 5-figure weekly wires? Because you had the only software that brings you money. Well, that would just change everything, wouldn't it? I mean, no more running off to some job in the morning. No more getting home late, too exhausted to do anything but maybe watch some TV before finally crashing out, only to wake up and do it all over again the next day. No more answering to some boss you don't like. No more worrying about paying your bills, much less paying them on time. And if you want to make more money because you want to buy an expensive car, a new house, or take a bunch of vacations to exotic locales all over the world, just crank up your software and let it find you more money. If you want to get 4-figure, 5-figure, or even bigger wires sent right into your bank account every week, plus all the time in the world to do whatever you want to do with that money, then you have to stop right now. Stop. Stop trying to SEO. Stop trying to blog. Forget about PPC and trying to create products, then trying to JV those products. Stop buying every new next big thing. And above all else, stop learning. Yep, stop learning. Stop going from one method to the next, and then on to the next, always learning and never finishing, never succeeding. The chance is here for you right now to put that all behind you and go from learning mode to turbocharged earning mode. Hey, I'm Steven Rounds, the ex-PayPal guy. I used to work a horrible 9-to-5 job where I essentially kept people from their money. Just getting out of bed and driving to the office each day was a soul-crushing experience. Made even worse by the fact that I was barely getting by, living paycheck to paycheck. Not anymore, though. Now I'm living my dream. Now I'm able to drive around all day long in my brand new Camaro. I travel all over the place vacationing whenever I please. I never worry about bills or money. Now my family is taken care of the way I want to take care of them. Yes, now I'm living my dream. And now, you could be living the way you always knew you should. It wasn't that long ago that I was working at PayPal and barely making ends meet. It was just a couple of years back that I was still working at PayPal. My job was to create and implement the system-wide fraud protection software that limited and froze people's PayPal accounts, literally keeping them from their money. Honestly, it sucked. I hated it. It's bad enough having to wake up every day for a job, and it just gets worse when it's a job that makes you sick to your stomach. And then, of course, there was one more element that was fueling my misery. Nearly every time somebody told me about a little piece of code that was broken, they also felt the need to tell me about some guy who was waiting on his $500,000 transaction. I just kept hearing about an account with 400 grand in it, or one with 600 grand in it, or one with over $1 million just sitting there. It seemed like every week I was hearing about some account that was jammed with more money than any of us could even fathom. It began ruling my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about those accounts stuffed full of millions of dollars. What were these people doing? One day, I hit the ATM to grab some cash for my lunch break. The balance was low. It was near Christmas, and man, I don't know, something just hit me. What the was I doing? I was busting my butt 9 to 5 every single day, working and working. And what was the payoff? The payoff was literally I had a few bucks to my name. Christmas was right around the corner, and I was stressed out wondering how I was going to buy Christmas presents for my family and pay my bills on time, too. It just didn't seem fair to say to my wife, "Merry Christmas, the electric bill was paid." Sure, my wife appreciates bills getting paid, but to say that to her, that was her Christmas gift, well, not exactly my ideal gift to her. All throughout the day, I didn't talk to a soul. I went home still quiet, and into the late night and early morning, I sat by myself, thinking. There had to be a better way. This couldn't be it. I did all the right things. I went to college, specialized in computer science, went to work for a company with benefits and all that. My career was based around something I did love, which was software. But it just wasn't working. None of it was working. And then, just as the TV flipped into infomercial time, you know, when it's so late that nothing else is on, it occurred to me. If I could create software for my employer that took the money away, then I had little doubt I could create software program that brings money to me. Epiphany time. I had engineered a program that could take money away in an instant. Now I was ready to build a program that brought money in just as quickly. When you're a programmer, everything can be solved with math. And I mean everything. No problem in the world couldn't be solved with math. So all I needed to do was figure out first where the money was at. And once I knew, creating the software to bring it to me would be a matter of zeros and ones and some stealth and extremely powerful code. But to address the problem at hand, where was the money? What were all these guys doing that had high six figures and seven figures laying around in their PayPal accounts? I had to find that out first. I had to enter through the back door to find out who these big money guys were and where the money was coming from. To get started, I was going to have to not use my programming skills. I needed one website address to start finding the money with the software. So I invited one of the reps I talked to with the most to lunch. The one that would usually tell me about these accounts with all the funds in them. Those PayPal accounts with the high six and seven figures. And I said, just one website address. No names, no identification, no personal details. Just give me one website address. It took some convincing, some real convincing, but I got that one address, that one that started it all for me. I went home that night and began to code. I programmed all night, called in sick the next day, and kept on programming. Red Bull, coffee, cigarettes, they were my fuel to keep me going. I literally coded until the tips of my fingers bled. This was a hardcore programming session. First, I would need to use what programmers call brute force. In my world, the world of zeros and ones, code and programmers, brute force is letting a program do the heavy lifting. It's about the computer doing the thinking for you. I wanted the computer to think for me. I wanted it to find out all the information about that website it could. Number of visitors per month, demographic details, and most importantly, the sites people went to before they went to that one, and the sites they went to after they left it. With this information, I could discover who was sending these guys all that money, and where all those people with the money were coming from. And that is exactly what happened. Over the next several days, my brute force program had spied on and gathered very specific details about several websites that would hopefully tell me where the money was. Once I began to pour into the data, however, I was kind of disappointed with the initial results. You see, most of these guys, it was kind of shocking. They were making a ton of money, yeah, but they were making it through creating and selling how-to stuff, info products. And sure, they had fancy screenshots from PayPal on their site showing off their earnings. It's just that the only way they were making their cash was by creating these products and then cross-promoting one another, which is fine, I guess. But unless you're in their circle and have the time and cash to create your own product, it's pretty pointless to even try that. There was one site, one guy, however. His data stood out amongst all the others. This guy was getting more traffic to his site than all the others combined, all from just a few sources, and the sources I had never heard of before. He was crushing it. I mean, blistering levels of traffic that were nearly incomprehensible. So I turned my attention to him and him alone. I began to focus only on what he was doing. What were his sites? Where was his money? And what I discovered from this was that there were a select group of super affiliates generating unheard of levels of traffic from sources nobody else even knew about. And they were banking hard just through selling other people's products. And they weren't getting paid by PayPal. They weren't waiting for checks to arrive in the mail or clear their banks. They were getting wire transfers sent directly to their banks. Electronic cash instantly available. And so much of it that they probably couldn't spend it in a lifetime if they wanted to. I had found the money, and now I just needed to make it come to me automatically. My stealth software had unearthed a playground for wealthy super affiliates. They were getting server-crushing levels of traffic from a handful of sources and cashing in on other people's products to the tune of millions of dollars a month. These traffic sources, nobody else even knew they existed. And with them, you can unleash unlimited, unending amounts of traffic with just a few clicks. Now that I had this intel, I needed to develop the software that would harness this traffic